Podcast.
Hello and welcome to Emma's podcast. In today's podcast, we got somebody that's very interesting that I do know. So that's going to make it a little bit more complicated when I'm going to be speaking with him because generally my guests, I do not know them. I don't talk to them beforehand, so I don't know their stories. But today there's going to be a little bit of a challenge because I do know this person. His name is Michael Kamp. He started as let's put it this way. As a young kid, it became a serial entrepreneur. We'll talk about it a little bit during our recording here, during our podcast. Started the construction companies, roofing companies. He started a lot of things when he was younger. So he's a serial entrepreneur. Then he became a chief marketing officer for Rump Services LLC, I believe so. Create marketing content, cultivate a relationship between spokesperson, affiliate marketing. Then he moved from chief marketing officers to chief operating officer to Pixographs. Then became the CEO of his own business as well, which is Honeycomb Hydro. And it's part of the cannabis world, but it's educational at the same time. Then he moved on to, and it's still, by the way, part of Honeycomb, is still running Honeycomb, but decided, and I think it's an absolutely awesome thing he did, go to Interstellar Digitals as an account executive. And he does a lot there as well. So it's all business related to cannabis. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Oh, get my other hand in there. Keep talking, Emma. I'm just
okay. I'm keep talking. Okay.
Video.
So
Interstellar Digital.
This is the logo of Interstellar Digital. And as you can see in the back, you got Hero Specs, actually, with part of Honeycomb Hydro, and we'll talk a little bit about it. So, what got you started on actually Hero Spec on Honeycomb? Because you have done, and I mentioned you were a serial entrepreneur. But what made you start with Honeycomb, and why the word Honeycomb Hydro?
Well, with Honeycomb Hydro, what led to that, I did a lot of, like you said, a lot of things. I like learning, so I reached out to multiple different industries, if you will. Started in the construction as you talked, and through the construction, opened a marketing company, and that led to from door to door knocking. Right, I used to do door to door sales for insurance. Right, I didn't have that on there, but that's initially where that started, and then I fell in love with marketing. So at age 12, I also fell in love with cannabis. So marketing works well with cannabis, and I used it as replacement for medications, if you will. So at a young age, I was already using, and then throughout my whole life have been using. And then my grandpa got diagnosed with cancer, seminal vesicle cancer, prostate cancer, and was having issues with the medications and the chemo and a bunch of the treatments. So it's when I started diving in of the capabilities of the plant, and was making edibles. And through those few days, I get my grandpa back. Now my grandpa's passed. My grandma's also now passed. But they were heavy Bible thumpers. Cannabis was the devil's lettuce, and that's, you're going to hell if you use it. So it was very frictional there. But Honeycomb Hydro, the name itself was in remembrance of my grandpa, and before he passed away, was to incorporate. He loved raising honeybees. It was just one of his passions, right? And it was to incorporate his love, and specifically his set bees, which have died since he passed as well. But to have those bees involved with infusion of the honeycomb itself, and the wax casings. A lot of people don't know that bees themselves don't have an endocannabinoid system, so they can't get high, but they will ingest certain flowers, the THC, the terpenes, the cannabinoids within the plant, and then they'll ingest it into their honey. The process of making honey, the bees eat stuff, they regurgitate it, that makes honey. But in their digestive system, it enhances certain notes within whatever they ingest. So with honeybees, you have the only all naturally infused edible in the world. And with the advances in cannabis, you can now use water soluble cannabinoids and actually put in a nectar and feed the nectar that you sustain the hive through the winter with. You can actually infuse it, and the bees will ingest it and naturally infuse it into everything of what they live from, the wax, the honeycomb itself, and then the honey. So, and then the casings. So there's all kinds of different advantages with it. So that's where Honeycomb Hydros, the name itself, came up with. The purpose was to create specific strains, or cultivars is the technical term for it. And that's different varieties of cannabis to cure different ailments, be it cancer or sleep or weight gain, weight loss. The more science we've had, it's specific cultivars for any specific ailment. And then they have other ones that count, the opposite end of that spectrum. So not everybody needs Ritalin, right? If you were to take Ritalin or anything for the ADD, ADHD, which are all horrible drugs, especially in the longevity of it, some acts upon differently than others, right? And that's because the brain chemistry, the plant can adhere to that, and regardless of what level of brain chemistry you have, producing any ailment from ADD to depression to whatever, that's this chemical reaction in your body. Cannabis can reverse it. So it's finding which strain or cultivar is for you. And that's where I've been working for about the past 18 years, is breeding specific strains. And then now with the advancement in legal recreational regulation, some want to call legalization, but then medical regulation as well, but cannabis as a whole and the impact that it's making in the world, and now able to release what I've been creating for the past 17 years. And that's where Hero Packs comes in. So before we get into that, because I know you like your questions. Do you have anything on what I just laid out?
I'm not going to be able to place one word now. I have a feeling you're going to just talk for an hour.
There's a lot.
I know.
That's why we're doing this, so people can know, and then we can have this recorded and have it dictated and tell the world in multiple ways.
So you have been connected to several people. Jojo, Cezanne, you have been connected to other individuals, but particularly with Jojo. So talk to me about it, the meeting with Jojo. How did you meet Jojo? And what does he represent to you?
Jojo saved my life of representation, of just recognizing who I am and that my past doesn't define me, especially that of my mistakes. So just the perspective of life and understanding burdens and what all that means is where Jojo saved my life. Right? I met Jojo through James Reardon. You had him on the show here. Yes. So any of the listeners, if you're wanting to hear Jojo or James Reardon, check out his podcast, because she has one with them. So James Reardon wrote, he's an author. He wrote Break On Through, the autobiography of Jim Morrison and the Doors. Through that, the Doors movie was also being created at the same time he wrote the book. So Jim became very good friends with Oliver Stone, and then wrote Oliver's autobiography and Bishop of Rwanda and many, many, many books. Platinum Rainbow was one of his biggest ones that hit out in LA. And prior to that, he was Rolling Stone, Cream Magazine, long time in writing. His birthday party in Kankakee is always a very good time. And normally it's at a bar, tons of people show up. You don't know what celebrities may come, and karaoke, because Jim likes to sing. So Jojo I met him at one of Jim's birthday parties. And then Found out he was in Bourbonnais. At the time is when I had Pixograph, you'd mentioned. It was a app that I created, but I was using that, doing beta test on that. And Jojo loved it, just the utility of it, and then who I was. And after meeting him and learning more about what he did through Project Michelangelo Foundation and the events that he promoted, and just, when you have an opportunity to empower children that are disabled through scripture and archery, things like that, they're so unique, but the effect's so profound. It is just unbelievable. But the synchronicity and alignment of the plant, it's been very difficult to be open with Jojo because he's from the Philippines. They're killing people for cannabis there. He is an American citizen, but his belief of, can't say his doctrine of belief, right, but it's just to honor who he is, the heritage of who he is. He's a NASA scientist. He's got a lot of government restrictions on things, but then he's also a physical therapist and a scientist in the same. So the data that's been produced about cannabis has opened up a pathway to be able to leverage the relationship and expand the knowledge of the plant. And it's been a long 10 years down the road, right? But it's amazing now to be able to be open and fight for this plant all the way to the level of NASA because of the capabilities of the plant and how it's being ignored. But that's through the sustainability and saving the planet.
So let's go back to relationship with Jojo, because he saved your life and he's still part of your life and really embedded his print on you.
No, absolutely. Like when it comes through, I've got to stay active to stay sober. So I found something to stay active with, to put my energy into, that it's reciprocated back through self-worth, but then also impact for others. So the most recent thing that we're doing is the Ray Owwll Memorial Project, or ROMP project. It's focused on the first American veteran to receive the Filipino Congressional Medal of Honor in history. And it was for the liberation of the Philippines of the Battle of Gulf Lafayette. And Ray Owwll, when he came back to the States, started doing physical therapy through Jojo. Jojo got to know him quite well, learned that the most traumatic event that he had there was a dog being tossed overboard that they'd saved in Laos. After was where they saved the dog, brought the dog on the boat. Dog got found, then nominated to be the mascot of the battleship. Right after the liberation of the Philippines, some asshole threw the dog overboard, and it traumatized Ray more than the war. So the focus on the Ray Owwll Memorial Project is to bring awareness of liberation of the Philippines, the appreciation of that from the Philippine as a whole, both the country itself and the people there, right? And then also to the states for allowing that, and then expansion into it. We've got a lot of work with things there. Like I said, they're killing people for cannabis, while other countries are saving lives with the oils. So there's a lack of education and many other, we'll say, roadblocks, if you will, to leave us still a long way ahead of us for the globe to embrace cannabis in a whole of what it should be. But when you're able to get involved with people like Jojo, like I have, and be able to be accepted to do things and promote the plant through everything we do together, it shows progress on a level that it's quite remarkable. But Jojo can recognize it through his physical therapy, and then he can also recognize it through soil regeneration, CO2 sequestration, terpene replacement, just the capabilities of cannabis plant, industrial and medicinal as a whole, and what it can do for this planet. That when you have a Filipino that will stand up for the plant, that's something huge. But it's to be able to, leverage it in the right way and get the eyes on it. It's to be controversial because people look at it and say, what is this going on, right? They might have concern or anger initially, and it's typically because lack of education. So, like I
You have
said,
a you have a very long friendship with Jojo.
yeah, I'm gonna say it's been about 12 years
Mhm.
now. So
And he has
it's
helped you to clear the pathway for you, like you said, to help you to stay sober, to be basically your sounding board and one of the pillar in your life.
absolutely. Yeah, oh, my camera went down.
Mm-hmm. That's all right.
Seems anytime I move on the desk, the camera goes down. I'm back.
He's back. Yay. Because we are not cutting anything at all, people. Just to let you know, you're going to hear from beginning to end. No, it's a raw conversation and I do not cut it. Yes, we don't
Yes.
cut it. So
Yeah.
with the friendship with Jojo, that opens a lot of door for you of understanding of life, of spirituality as well. It did open a lot of things for you as well to be able to grow and mature and really focused on the education and the awareness of the plant, the cannabis. But it did also guide you in your life and everything you have done for the past 12 years. Am I correct?
Yep, absolutely. And the foundation of it was believing in myself. That's what most people lack of, right? And to have somebody believe in you. And it was as simple as I could go and take pictures and do videos and collect content and then put that all together in a video to music for them. And I didn't recognize my capabilities within that and how well I was at it for not being a video editor or a videographer or a photographer or anything like that. So then Jojo would always call on me to come, and that's where I became a marketing angel for Project Michelangelo, was that I took good pictures. They were the perspective and angles that he would take. So, and I guess he went through a lot of people. I just took the right picture. Every event, you typically see me laying on the ground just to get that right angle. Like, so there was levels of dedication I put into to collect the content that was.
Also, what makes probably the difference is you know him compared to other people that probably will take picture without connecting deeply with Jojo. You have a bond with Jojo,
Well, and
brotherhood bond.
And it's fairly simple. He likes action, right? So to be able to collect action, regardless if it has movement, right? But that feel in a picture is what I'm pretty good at. So, and then with JoJo, there's always that level, but it's just the level of engagement within the picture itself. So through that, I became an accredited videographer, photographer for a NASA project through STEM, working with JoJo. And then I just get a call when there's big events happening, and I go make videos. But that's where that marketing side of it's what I really enjoy. Right, the content creation.
You have done. We're talking the marketing side, but you have done and it's not on your that I saw on your profile, but I do know events for NASCAR. What have you done for that?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where like the belief in oneself it's where that came from. And then I went and I was working for some companies doing door to door. They didn't treat their employees right, so I went and opened my own. I did that for about 3 months, knocked on the right door. This was after I met with JoJo and, had someone I could call and rely upon when I needed guidance, right? Or having that self-doubt, and then how we, and dismissing it. And he does that for others. We set up neuro-linguistic programming seminars to help others learn how to do the same thing. Because we all need it to some level, right? It's just recognizing and accepting that fact, acknowledgement, right, first, and then being willing to work on it. So, but knocked on a door. He was the marketer for MB Motorsports, which is Mike Mittler, who passed 2 years ago, and ended up getting half of his roof approved. And my company covered the other half of the roof in exchange for a NASCAR race. So I advertised my roofing company on a NASCAR, went in, fell in love immediately because I was no racing at all. I thought they were all left turn idiots, like, what's going to happen? Left turn, right? I mean, I learned there was other races that were open course that they did do some zig and zag, and
Mhm.
maybe a right turn, right?
Mhm.
But it was, I'm like, they're left turn idiots, right?
Ah,
And then I
it's
went
a
to
strategy run. It's not a left turn.
it's
Even I used to
wait,
watch it over
wait for it.
Europe.
Left turn. Yep, nailed it. Right, and that was my ignorance level of it. It's just that's what I
Okay, so let
understood
me
it
say this to you. I was in Europe, and my uncle, actually, when he came back from the US, I was going staying with him over the weekends. And we did, because he had the cable. And we watched NASCAR race. So we knew, and he explained to me the strategy and everything. So it's funny for you to say left turn, and I'm like, no, it's strategy. It's nothing else than strategy.
exactly. And yeah,
Because
there's
the car are all the same.
well, at least aerodynamic wise, and it's funny that you
Yes.
say that. The reason the cars are the same is because there's rigging systems that they use to
Yes.
test it. Those
Exactly.
rigging systems were made by Mike Mittler in MB Motorsports. So that was my inlet to NASCAR, was the guy that made the equipment to make it at least for testing for aerodynamics. So,
I feel for everybody, not like the F1.
there's all kinds of
F1, good
specs.
luck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
I love F1. I love the F1. But this one, NASCAR, when you talk about NASCAR, it's about the driver, the skills of the driver, but the crew, the pit crew, everybody actually. So it showed the skill set of the entire team.
And yes,
the
there's
car.
that the top teams have the top equipment because
yeah,
they have all that money, but it doesn't mean that nobody else can win.
exactly.
So, and then
everybody has a chance.
Exactly. So what I went in, what I loved about it was the kids that raced, right? So it's the motto for Project Michelangelo is an angel and a hero for every child, right? So if focused on that through love, you can really do a lot. if you look at that, that's the purpose, right? So when I met these kids that were racers at 8 to 12, even 15-year-old, they were what you want your child to be in conversation and stature and respect, and a lot of elements that most kids don't have these days, for many reasons, right? We won't get into that, but kids these days are not like when I was a kid. And even when I was a kid, I had a more strict upbringing that kept me a little more aligned and not to be a rude asshole, right? But there's the level of respect in the world from a kid doesn't hardly exist in my experience, and that's being a coach for basketball for my kids while they were growing up. Like, just certain elements, most kids just, and it's the conditioning is not proper to have respectable society. It's scary what the world's going to turn into, right? But then you meet a kid that's a racer, yes sir, no sir, please, thank you, basic things. These basic things exist in a level that it's unbelievable. But then because they're involved in a team, this camaraderie and team effort concept is instilled in them. But then humidity can affect the track, and on these dirt racers, that can be life or death. So there's an element that you have to respect humidity. You have to respect the dirt that you're on, the condition of your tires, the other racers. There's all this elements of being not only aware, but in an acknowledgement of respecting it, because it could very well be your death or your victory. And then I think that foundational aspect is what the kids realize, that's what's going on or not. You just want your kid to be like that. And then I went in, and then I was meeting these racers, and I'm learning more about racing and the transition of the money coming in. And sadly, a lot stray away from the beginnings, the purpose, right? And they're consumed by the profit. It's a difficult thing to stay away and not be greedy, and some achieve it, but it's slippery slope. And
it's
then
it's part of the distraction. It's part of the growing up. It's part of who surround you. That's the problem with most of the athletes. And you're looking at NASCAR or anything else like that. they should have somebody to teach them, because most of the time families don't know how to go with the money. And when you talk about 7 figure, then everybody goes nuts.
No, absolutely. And
That's
then
the problem.
happy 420 to everyone out there. It's 420 somewhere.
Yes, it is.
So,
So
with
light it
that,
up.
I'm gonna light up some smoky,
Yes, please do.
skunky flow cakes.
Okay. You should have a picture of a flow.
I could throw a picture of skunky flow up there. But
But
yes, so I went into NASCAR. I'm a hustler, so I snuck into the Cup side with a truck pass. So I started my NASCAR in the pit side, so not as a fan.
which
Then
is
I went
good.
straight in with and into the pits where they're working on the cars. All the haulers are, all the racers are, all the photographers go in and out. But you got to have there's trucks and 2 car series. We'll say medium and higher class, right? More expensive you go. I've stepped away from. I don't even know what if it's still Monster or who the damn Cup series are, and I just stepped away from that aspect because what I learned while I was there on the level of hostility and I say it was beyond competition for sponsors. And I was watching people get just stabbed in the back, gutted. Here, like the intent of these individuals raising the money to make these races happen, it was vicious. And most didn't see it, I guess. I was always high, so or medicated, however you want to look at it. So I was looking at things differently. But here is the skunky flow cake. I'll throw her on. So, it's huge. You're not going to be able to see it all. You just see her tits on my shoulder. There she is.
Actually, it's a beautiful I always said drawing on this.
I can't put it as a background, Emma. I'd have to resize it. So, anywho, regardless, I got into this truck side, and anywhere and everywhere I went, because cannabis has been my medication, I always had it on me, and I've been growing my own for 20, allegedly until it was legal, but 22 years, right? I have been growing my own. So I've always had proper medicine, but I was testing and breeding and making it stronger and finding things that worked for me for different levels. One to wake up, one to take care of pain. And then there was just some just get high. I was a kid. I didn't care. Right. But it seemed to be a skeleton key because I always had really, really, really good cannabis on me that I could go through and give a joint to a security guard and walk anywhere, or bump into somebody and have really good weed on me, and it just opens doors and drops down levels of protection walls we have just between interaction with people. It really, that's why it's good for therapy and for PTSD and all these other things where you need to work with other people, be open with them, maybe a complete stranger, about who you are to fix what you're going through, whatever that may be, right? There's so many therapist level we just hit on that cannabis can fit and fix at least a level 2, recognizing what the hell's going on to translate that to somebody else. And that's specifically veterans that can be a very difficult thing to do, or a recovering addict and I consider myself recovered because of this plant. Others would want to say I'm still an addict because of this plant, but it's what is the perspective of where you're coming from and how have you educated yourself to come to that conclusion? Is it just the stigma of propaganda and you're just going with the flow, and it could be vice versa, right? Or recreational and all these others, but you're still just going with the flow because you're conditioned by your society, and society's hated cannabis. And it's because
it's the okay. So I don't think I would call it hated. at this point, I will call it
We're,
the
we're intimidated.
miseducation. No, I call it the non-education part of it, because if people, that's why, and we'll talk about how we met in a few minutes. Non-education and the wrong perspective and propaganda that got put on it. It's the lack of education. And that's what we need to do right now, is to educate people on what is this plant, because nobody, except a few, you can go on the street and ask people here or where you live, maybe a little less, but ask them what is the holistic part of that plant. And a lot of people have no idea, because the only thing that comes, and I said it in previous podcasts, it's recorded, that to me, when you were talking about maybe a year ago, about even 6 months ago, about cannabis and dispensary, the only thing I was thinking is, oh, getting high, pothead. That's the perspective we've got in the street. The perception is erroneous, it's wrong, but it has been put in the people's and brainwash people for many, many years. So we don't know the truth about that plant. And education has to come down to the street, to the level of everybody to understand.
Absolutely. And that's where, a lot of my focus has been on through growing. And after the dirt racing or marketing in NASCAR, I got in, had some really good cannabis, met a dude on the cup side with a truck pass. Wanted to know how in the hell I got there. I just told him I act like I own it. I know how to get places. He asked for a cigarette. I didn't have any. It was a container to hold my joints. So he wanted to smoke a joint. We went walking through. So they were picture. I'm in the right place at the right time, right, but the wrong pass, so I could get tossed out of the entire track. That's how stringent they can be. Okay, there's rules. You break them, there's consequences. So then the teams are up practicing, qualifying. So the cars are out on the track, teams are up on their haulers because they're not worried about the pit crew on qualification, right? And when it goes in, he takes a joint, light it, and we're walking through, and we're going into, we are in the garage on the cup side of the pits. He's showing me all the equipment. Like, this is crazy. So I invited him back to the hauler because we were at Talladega, and then brought him out on the boulevard because I found most racers don't experience, most people that work in racing don't experience the fan side outside of at the event. So most of them don't go to any of the concerts, unless it's a real big name, they'll go. Talladega, the racers are out more, in Daytona a little bit because there's more activities, but then just hanging out with the fans, camping after the race, it's its own environment. It's unbelievable, right? It's a family of competitiveness that doesn't cut each other's throats, at least in the fan side. On the marketing side, on the money side, on getting the sponsors,
that's a different story.
Different animal, because there's so many zeros, right? And then NASCAR getting its piece of everything, that's a whole different animal. And that's where I stepped away from a lot of it. But before I did, I loved the racing aspect. I had all these cars, all these things to get signed, and I got couple hundred cars and pictures, and that's this guy that I met. He just kept giving me pictures and pictures because I had this big bag, and I'm like, it's all signed already. And he's like, you got all that signed? And I'm like, yeah. And he starts handing me 8x10s, and he's like, here's this person, here's that person, here's this person, here's that person. So I got all this amazing signed stuff, and then he ended up being an influential individual on the inside works of NASCAR. And then his buddy was the #1 seller of racing memorabilia in the world. That's signed. So I actually was on an interview, and my weed was so good, I already had the job.
That's good.
All right. So then I just got into know him a lot and didn't want to be a tourist anymore. So I had an app made called Pixographs where you take a picture and get it signed, right, on my cell phone. And that's when the Note 2 came out. And it was before you could write on any picture on social media. So before Facebook, before Instagram, I had an app that could do what they couldn't do. And it was because the Note 2, you could take a screenshot of your picture and then you could write on that screenshot with stylus. So it was too slow. So I made an app, Snap. They'd sign it with a stylus or their finger. And I have my own signed memorabilia. And that's called Pixagraphs. So I worked to get funding through that. It's very difficult when you don't know how. So along the way, I learned a lot about contracts through some devious stuff through the teams that I paid $50,000, $100,000 to be involved or raise money. And then they screwed me over because I screwed myself over because the contract, I did not know what I was reading. And then some of them are so good, even getting an attorney, it's still interpretation and things happen. And they didn't do anything illegal because it was according to the contract. So I got to learn a lot about capital letters, pluralized words, the difference between allowing people to take. So that was one of the reasons I got away from NASCAR. And because I started making a lot of money, I still dependent on alcohol. We've had a lot of money, had a lot of employees. I want to say I had about 17, just peaked over 15 employees. But it was through multiple companies. My marketing company, which was RPM Services, which did driver development, dirt racing, and the NASCAR. And then Pixagraphs, which was the app. So I just call herself an app development company. It's cheaper to go do that and protect everything within it than put it underneath another entity. So it just became its own. And worked in the NASCAR. Lots of negative things happened while trying to get investors. And then the app went away. So I'll be bringing it back though, because it's going to be been repurposed into a NFT aspect of an app, but we can't talk too much on it yet.
No,
that'll be coming in the future.
This is not that we're not talking about the
future. Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about the past and where you are right now. That's all.
Exactly. So that.
Yeah, no. I'm going to drive the conversation. You're not in the driver's seat, Michael.
You do it.
You're trying.
I'm here for the ride. So there's just so much in each question of what you ask. Like it's a.
I know, but that's all right. You know,
this is good stuff too.
Good. Well, I'm happy it's good stuff. So, and no people that don't smoke. Too bad, huh? I don't use. We met. Our path crossed earlier this year.
Correct.
Because of an app, actually.
Yes.
And you're the one who reached out to me, actually. And it wasn't me, it was you who just reached out to me.
That was my guerrilla tactics of going into something new, right? Being a beta tester of my own app. Yep. And I learned along the way. So, we initially, because marketing and networking is very important.
Yep.
And because cannabis is such a restricted vertical, that networking is even more important because there's less people out there that support it to the level that I do. So it's finding those individuals. Most of them are coaches, right? They're a doctor on a level, but then they're a consultant for something else, right? And then coaching, whichever aspect of cannabis. So that led me to an app called Owwll. So it's right there. Say 2 W's and 2 L's.
Yes, and we need to talk a little bit of this app. So we met on the app Owwll, and this week, yes, Owwll. And this week actually, because by the time I'm releasing it, was middle of the week of next week. And guess what? We have a full week with Owwll doing special and podcast, and that's what we're talking about it right now, because every proceed for that specific week will go to Place of Hope, which is an organization where basically on Monday the CEO is gonna be launching that special week. And Place of Hope has been doing it they have been doing it for 21 years, and they saved over 21,000 lives with $20. So it's helping the child and is placing hope in a child's future, which is awesome. So this is who they are, and we talked about it today because it's where we met, and we are both ambassadors for Owwll, and it's a great place as well to meet. It's like LinkedIn Meet Masterclass, where basically you download the app for free, and there is a code, as you can see. People are going to be listening. It's like they ask for a referral code. So the one we got here is ED149067. What it does is when you're uploading it, you enter the code, you get a $10 credit to call anyone of who's on Owwll. Actually, those are experts. So you call the expert and you talk directly to them, compared to LinkedIn, where it can take a little longer. Owwll is at the tip of your fingers, basically. You just pick the person, or if you see somebody you want to call, you can request a call from them as well. So it helps if you need to talk to somebody before, if you want to talk to, let's say, Michael, and have question about NFT, about marketing, you can get a hold of him and start a conversation there on Owwll. Then you can continue outside of Owwll. This is exactly what we have done, the two of us. So Owwll is part of who we are and what we do as well. And because of this week, again, all donation goes to Place of Hope, and we're inviting everybody to download. It's free. And you can download in Android or in Apple product too, because it does both. Do you want to add something to Owwll? Oh, you're on mute.
Yay! I'm back. Thank you.
Yes, you're back.
You're on point. Oh, what the hoot! No, Owwll. It's great for but I like it a lot. We need to get more outlets on there. So those listeners, get your $10, and after you get in, if it's something that you're liking, you can actually become a coach yourself and get money from others, Owls and outlets. So the networking capabilities within it is unbelievable. Like you said, there's doctors, podcasters, and there's specialists in every aspect of social media, and each social media platform. Like there's so many different specials. Let's call them subject matter experts, right? And then that's what this app's all about. So yeah, it led me to you. It led me to quite a few, and it seemed like working in specific industries like cannabis and NFTs. Metaverse, that level, you have to go to different technology platforms to find the individuals that are engaging with that. So that was what I like about Owwll, is it being the app itself. Oh my gosh, my phone.
And taking picture too?
Yeah, it was taking pictures. I was trying to hit the button and it was hitting both buttons.
So, and also what is nice with Owwll, I believe, it's because you can talk directly to the person, so you can connect with that person right away. That's what I love. It was the connection. And if you you hear the person and you're connecting with the person, you're like, okay, I got an affinity, I'm interested, then you can move forward and have further conversation outside of Owwll. But it's a great way to be able to connect with somebody right away and being able to really start the conversation. And it makes it easier because it's a phone conversation. So it's pretty cool.
It's I'm really looking forward to it once it starts popping off and having a very large community. I don't know how many thousands of downloads have happened already, but going through the beta phase with it, meeting you, and what it's turned into now, it's quite impressive. So
I agree. It is impressive. It's fun to do it, and as I said, it's free. So download that app for free because it's free.
Then it's $10 to go. I mean, you can go get a good 20 minutes worth of somebody that would cost $250 to even $1,500.
Yeah.
Just to ask that question, so you just gotta have your questions. You can go to learn but have some questions ready of something that, what is your pain point, right? Go download Owwll. Okay, what individual can answer that type of question and go search that type of person in the app and send them a message saying, hey, I would like to schedule a call, right? Like it's, and then there's others that are there. So you'll go on and you'll already have, don't be surprised, you have somebody that's on the app that can answer the specific question you're needing, and it costs you $2.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
It's like and talking to real expert, not the fake one either. So that's, I think it's a pretty interesting app. I was invited by somebody else's to go on. I didn't know, because I was part of the beta phase. I didn't know who, what, and I went in and I really enjoyed it. It was very nice. I talked to a lot of people. Very interesting conversation and good connection when it comes down to networking as well. So that was great. It's a one-on-one, which is even better. So, but I like the conversation, because you got the person right on the phone. You can hear them, you can communicate with them. And, when we do it via text or email, it's great. But when you have somebody, when you hear them and their voice, you can ask questions on the fly where you would not think about it when you're texting it or you're focused on something. So I liked it.
Same here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's.
Huge. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. So let's move out of Owwll and talk about Interstellar Digital. Why Interstellar Digital?
Well, along my route in cannabis, so I opened up Honeycomb Hydro LLC officially, right, as opposed to just being a concept idea, regardless how detailed of the structure within and the complexity of, because the purpose for it, right? They started out to help specific strains, and because I was able to spend time with my loved one, right? It improves my quality of life in general. Others should have that right. And I teach people how to grow, right? But then it's being able to spread the awareness of it and talk about the plant on its true capacity and capabilities is marketing, right? So I built Honeycomb Hydro. It has a lot of working parts, if you will, when it comes to digital representation, from specific Facebook groups to I like to have digital events, and then COVID encouraged a lot of it as well. And I do digital scavenger hunts, which is where I initially met Grove Bags and Fish Shit, and really Interstellar Digital, because I was Chicago-based, they're Chicago-based. We had a mutual, the owner of Interstellar, myself, had a mutual friend, and he met me. See, I was a hustler. I was breaking into restricted verticals, and Interstellar is a specialist subject matter expert in restricted verticals. So pharmaceutical, nutraceutical, cannabis, financial, right? Very difficult industries to penetrate. And like when it comes to any advertisement, and then especially cannabis, like on Facebook, I don't have my original Facebook account because I didn't dance around or try to call it something else. And really, they got mad because the events that I threw, I didn't pay any advertising in Facebook. And then I couldn't boost my ad. I'm talking in like a week. So the engagement level, which the first one, it was, came up with an idea. And because I thought I missed Easter, but I was a week ahead. So I didn't miss Easter for my kids. Yep. And I was like, damn, my kids didn't give a shit. And I was like, I'm so disappointed. I want an Easter egg hunt. And I'm like, man, I bet other people want an Easter egg hunt. So I do digital Easter egg. And I'm like, Easter to be religious on a level. And people are like, I'll just call it a scavenger hunt. So I did 420 scavenger hunt concept came up. I started reaching out to companies and ended up getting in 14 days, 42 companies together, about 25,000 in prizes. Well, about 21, I put in about $4,000 worth of genetics myself, right? But I got 25,000 in prizes. I built a digital playground of landing pages. It's the easiest way to describe it. And people had to go do things. And then whoever got done first was a timed effort. 420, they started at 420. And everybody has so much time. And whoever finished at the end with the most, it took a little bit, but it was really fun. right? And people couldn't do anything. But it was just support of the community. If you go through and you follow things, then you get asked some questions, you get a quiz, right? It's educate. It was basic, and people went ape shit over it. So they all won 20 prizes, and then when the prizes showed up, you had that residual marketing, which was the most impactful, was the individuals receiving the stuff that they won, right? So now they're using it, and then I'd follow up, right? It's in that relationship marketing, right? How the level of that relationship, and then I could get reviews, and I could do all kinds of fun things, right? And then I was like, okay, it worked. Now I had Facebook. I had over 1,500 different entities attacking the VPN. Then I had to have a buddy while I had a VPN use my computer, hack into to go out his stuff, because I had a lot of entities trying to shut it. They had me shut out for about 47 seconds. It was entertaining on a level that I freaked the hell out because I didn't know. It was a mess, but we got control. I have no record of any of it because they deleted it all for some crazy ass reasons, and it was leading because it was cannabis. Right? There was no sales. There wasn't any of this. It was all gifting of products. But these same product companies have issues getting advertising like fish shit because it has the word shit in it. Or Grove bags, it's got cannabis on it. They don't hide with certain levels, just that leaf structure, right? It causes issues on advertising. So you're forced to steer away while others stay the path because they won't be clouded by the truth or by lies to focus on the truth of what the plan is. I'm not going to hide who I am. It's in my logo, right? It does affect you, but then learning all these things, having these digital events, not collecting all the information that I should have on it, regardless of what information and analytics I had on it, to return back on it and utilize those lists as customers. All right. Did not have the capacity to do all these things and create videos and brought people in, but some people suck, right? We'll just say that. Some people really suck, right? And along that, it's been like 2 years of pushing the road, going through the road bumps. Still driving down the road, but bumpy ass road. Met Dan with Interstellar, recognized, as a being an entrepreneur myself and opening my own company and I didn't have the revenue to do anything because I had to spend it on everything I was currently doing, right? My business was not aligned right because I didn't have the capacity to go through the information that I collected, because then I'd have to take time from what I'm doing and I wouldn't be able to be sustained, right? With company expense and cost of growing and it's saving in the money of making my own medicine, but it still takes money to make medicine. All right. So it's not anything what a dispensary costs, but there's still costs. So I now lean on Interstellar, and it's great. I've always been working and helping to focus and help others, and be it their social media or marketing aspects and a digital presence, and now being able to work for Interstellar Digital. So how I was able to get in and attain all the services that they have is by offering it to other companies that were in the same boat that I am, that had some type proper revenue. It grew so fast, the maintenance of that machine to maintain and the quality of what it is of just what people expected, because I did the 420 scavenger hunt and then the 710 scavenger hunt, and that 710 scavenger hunt was 2 months live, right? And it was collecting on that with the ads within it. And it was recognizing the level of addiction it created, and people going through with pre-withdrawals 2 weeks before, just because of time frame and the situation. They found a place they could divert their time every morning, and they couldn't go any, like a lot of our people were from Canada, and they couldn't go outside. They were in complete lockdown because of COVID.
Yeah.
And they were engaged. We'd have 30, 60 people live, which I didn't think that big of a number, but then I watched these. It was with a group of, say, 1,000 people, right? Not groups of 15, 20, 30,000 and 30 to 100 people go live. So I didn't understand the quality of that, but then it was just amazing of what was into it, how it was responded to, and then the amount of engagements and all that, right? But then it's the capacity to do more. Interstellar allows me to do that.
Okay. So what exactly Interstellar does? Because people down gonna say, well, who's Interstellar? What do they do?
Well, initially, they help you figure out what the hell you need. Like I thought I knew.
So in another word,
I thought I knew what I was doing. Right.
Okay.
But my website, if you're not on the first page of Google, you're not seen. Right. It doesn't matter of how much money I invested into all these other things that gets all these engagements. And, like even with NASCAR, I was on a dirt race, Bobby Pierce, 2015 Mudsummer Classic. Mike Miller got the only checker flag he ever had gotten in his life, right? And it's because Bobby won the pole. And I had my kids there, so it was a surreal experience for everyone involved, right? TV coverage, just Fox Sports 1. We had 8.2 million viewers for 28 minutes of that race. Mm-hmm. The truck that had our racer was on the TV. So coming out of that, that marketing campaign was worth triple-digit millions, but then it's what do you do with it? And I didn't have enough. It's understanding these levels of things, because then I could go and I could show, but I didn't have that digital presence in the beginning to even for a company to recognize. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter your relationships in it. It's what do they interpret from this old powerful internet and Google.
So basically what Interstellar does, it works on the digital marketing and with their science, because there is science, there is numbers behind it.
Exactly.
They're capable to move a company from the background, what I call the background, because I do teach sales and I do teach, I did classes on that actually. I used to teach people that if you're part of the background, well, too bad, because you maybe be lucky if you get the crumb or something from a prospect, but they're moving so people from being part of the background to be on the market dominating position. So they have the capability to do that, the understanding to do that, and they work towards that. Because one of the biggest things that I've noticed, and I've tested it, I did not experience it, I tested it because I knew that it will never work. When I started my business a few years ago, and especially the podcast here as well, I never did marketing on it. I let it grow organically because I knew it would be a shooting crap. I know it is a shooting crap. You can move all of the advertising in the world for a podcast. It doesn't mean people are going to be listening to it. However, when you got a company and you build a website, one, you need to have a website that do the conversion equation. Because if there is no traction on that, and you don't even know what you're putting on your website, if the words are not correctly placed, because it doesn't mean you need to have 1,000 things in that page to do that, then you got a problem. One of the issue as well is when you're talking with marketing, and I did that in the past, not with Interstellar, but with others locally here. I wanted to know how they were running things, because it's easy to say, well, it's going to cost you $10,000 to run this and this, or will take you $2,000, and we're going to market it, do a dream campaign, which people don't know what a dream campaign is, when you're sending emails and succession of email, not one, but there is a way to do it. And you're looking at the point when people are going to be interested. Some going to be interested right away, but most of people is between 42 and 72 points, meaning you're going to send a lot of those emails for people to read it. Problem is the target market. If a marketing company, a digital one, doesn't do, meaning take fresh lead, we're not talking about leads who have been purchased from one business to another. We're talking fresh leads. If they don't provide you this, neither do they take the time. And that happened to me because I tested it. I did not bought it. I was laughing at the end of the day. And they don't even ask you what you do in your market. Who are you? What do you do? What do you sell? then they will give you a list and say, well, we did a job, give me the $2,000. I just sent 1,000 email, we did a drip campaign, but your revenue on investment is zero. That is a problem. So you're talking about Interstellar, and you're talking about being able to, with this company, actually being able to get a result and to take results, and it's to be in a forefront, meaning you need to look at the website, like you mentioned, but you need to look at what is your target market, what is your story, because you have a story to tell. So the brand awareness, the brand reputation, and the brand recognition, this is what Interstellar does. Am I correct?
Absolutely. They when it comes to recognizing the brand, but then it's also the most important part, like you mentioned, is the customer, right? So your client, however you look at it, be it you're selling B2B, B2C, doesn't matter who buys from you, right? And how do you find out who buys from you? That's the biggest thing, because you need to get more of them to buy from you. So you have to reach out to them. So everybody, each company that I've noticed, and then in each of my endeavors, there was certain levels that were missing, right? Be it SEO, or maybe just the brand recognition, right? The name was there on the Google, but they didn't see, they don't feel comfortable. They hadn't had any inbounding level of branding to see me somewhere else. And with what was being offered, they should have seen my logo. They should have heard about me. But how it didn't matter. I had these huge opportunities of things, because I don't think small. And everything I build has multiple levels to feed into it. And it takes a lot of work to maintain it, but it's having the capacity and the tools to then monetize that. And the bigger you think of, the more complex a system is, the harder it is to maintain if you're not independently wealthy. And the systems itself, the maintenance of all of it, be it taking up too much time, or the funds itself, because you're doing things wrong. There's so many levels to do things wrong, right? That's where with Interstellar, it's going at it initially to find out who you are and what is going on, and then recognizing is the plan of attack to it, as opposed to being approached and others saying this is what you need to do, because you don't have it.
It
right?
has to be custom.
Interstellar finds out why you don't have it, because there
Yes.
could be something else that you have, and it's certain aspects of what you're great at as a company or an individual can be leveraged simultaneously while other things get fixed.
Yes.
Because there could be something within it, lack of knowledge, right? Within what your strength is, that already exists. You're not mixing the fuel right for the system, for the machine, right? But it's not, from an internal perspective, that can be very difficult in life in general, but especially as a company, right?
Well,
that's why outside consulting exists.
That reminds me, Ghostbusters, you need to call the experts. So it's not Ghostbusters you do at this point. You contact Interstellar at this point, because they will be basically auditing and looking very quickly what they will find the pain point. They will figure it out what's not working, which is good, because compared to the one, and it was 3 years ago that I talked to, I was laughing. I hang up the phone. I was laughing. I'm like, that's never going to happen, sweetheart. You don't know who I am. You don't even know. You'd never asked me the right question. You did not ask me what was my target market. You didn't ask me anything. You just wanted the $2,000, and I give you a list and we're happy. I'm like, no, that's not how things are supposed to work. So that's what makes a difference between a good marketing company, a very good one, to one who's just there you're just a number. And it seems like with Interstellar, you're not a number. You're a client. You're a person. You have a business. So it's really tailored to the business.
Oh, exactly. And then it's their capabilities they're able to provide. From clients that are $1 billion revenue generators to single owner, single operator like myself.
Which is good, because some company will only focus on specific ones. And it's nice to see they have an array of portfolio. They can work with anybody. Who has a budget, by the way? Because you need
You
a
know,
budget.
and then it's so with all my social media bumps and the issues that I ran into and just the things that exist in marketing for cannabis itself. I was able, some people call it being an influencer. I do a lot more, but to get at least initiate that bridge of connection, I could say I'm kind of like an influencer, right? And then at least a new company that I can write to can understand that I do have at least the capabilities of a social media presence and shift in numbers, right? That's all it
Yes.
is, and then the influencer may have a code, right? A discount code. Same thing that I have with Grove bags and fish shit, which is hero packs right there. Right. So that's the discount code. And that'll be the discount code for all of the other products that come into what Hero Packs has now evolved into. So
can you talk a little bit about the Heroes Packs and how did it got started? And why the name?
Well, Hero Packs initially was going to be a branding move for us as a solution to this issue of being able to advertise cannabis products. So it initially was a Grove bag, a 1 pound bag with a bunch of merchandise in it, made by Interstellar Digital, sister company, Masterclass Printing, right? Leveraging the connections that exist. So I just stopped. I was told by Dan, it's too complex. It's not developed enough, regardless of how developed I thought it was. But I had to sit down, told things I didn't like, allowed things to be fixed, and then luckily was given an opportunity because he recognized, because he was watching me struggle, on a level. He offered assistance. I never accepted it, and I didn't need the help. I have all this going on. And they allowed me
my pride.
exactly, right? Look at these things that worked, but because it wasn't leveraging on the full circle of what the purpose of advertising is, it wasn't working, regardless of the engagements. Regardless, okay, yeah, it gave me a little bit of money or some products testing. I gave a bunch away, and a lot to veteran aspect, and I got to have a philanthropy aspect involved into it at my own control, and I was able to get by, and then be able to pay bills and do a little bit. But
so
it wasn't.
Let's stop for a sec because you said philanthropy. Isn't it Interstellar do something philanthropy side of it too? Can you share a little bit about that?
It's and like back to leveraging what companies do. You get to know the company that's working for you. I got to know Dan, Interstellar Digital, and then they have what they call Interstellar Cares, because they're an enterprise partner with Google, which I think there's is it 3 or 8% of businesses are? We'll just say 8. Big, less than 10. There we go. Less than 10% of businesses are even there, but because they get so much money spent on Google ads through their clients, they're in a upper echelon, and with it, they're able to give back by giving up to $10,000 to not-for-profits per month in advertising, right, and services. So when it comes in of the capabilities of what they can do for a not-for-profit is exactly what most if not all not-for-profits need, right? The way to get their message out. They don't have the money to do that, and most don't need to know how to do it, and more so than you have to pay coaches to learn how to do it. So then you go to right. So it's like it's this cost thing that we're always looking for solutions for a better end product. That's why we met on Owl, because it was that capability to do what we do and have access to tools, and but then it's still when it comes to growth, you can't do it by yourself.
Nope.
And so lots of growth.
So back to Heroes Packs. So you wanted to give back. Now give back to whom?
Well, we have number one is A of Africa, which you have Renee Shepard. She was another individual that came on your show. right? I met you looking for a podcaster. Went to Owl, found you. There's many other podcasters, right? It is what it is, and that capability leads into Bay of Africa saves lives with hemp seed oil. Takes about 10 days to save life. So that is a demonstration of the power of the plant. This is the same thing people are getting killed in the Philippines for. So now we have a case study with numbers of it's not okay. Look how many lives we're able to save with hemp seed oil. So in retrospect, if you look at it from the right perspective, it's how many lives. Take that same number, a percentage of population, and apply that number to any given country that's killing people for the same thing that's saving lives, and they're also killing that many more for malnutrition, right? And it's just it's a weird way to look at things. Understand it's you'll go, well, why the hell? Why are they doing that, right? And this Hero Packs is a way to raise that awareness, but also be the voices on new digital platform with increase in technology and capabilities with blockchain and cryptocurrency and NFTs, and it's a whole nother ant farm of rabbit holes, right, to go into because it's so complex, because the capabilities are there, but then you have to have somebody like Interstellar or of that capacity to deal with that information, right? Let alone have it built.
You definitely, yes, you definitely need somebody that heavy to be able to do the heavy lifting, but they do also create a website. They do, like we talked about the NFTs, so they do a lot. It's a full-blown advertising agency who really market what is necessary for individuals who are solopreneurs.
It just matters where they're at.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
And that's why it takes time to know what the purpose is and their longevity. It's not about, it could be what is your 30, 90, 1 year plan, but it's when you hit people with what's your 2 year plan.
Yep.
Right. And then they don't even have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
There's already, I'm was my own enemy with it. Right. I was coming through and thinking it had a 2 year plan, but it wasn't established to sustain itself, because there was areas I was missing, because you don't, because business is not easy. And then through that, both cannabis and NFT, the industry is victimized by people who don't know what the fuck they're doing. Sorry for the F-bomb, but it's that simple. Don't know. They're just like me. And they think they know. Even with going and asking, getting the wrong answers, there's just so many levels within a business you're not thinking of, especially on like the back end, right? When things go wrong, the protocols of what happens then. And it's so developed. It's unbelievable. That's why so many businesses don't succeed after 2 years, then even less after 5 years. And it's scary being an entrepreneur, right? And going out and opening, doing your own things. But
it is worth the ride.
Oh, it's worth it.
There's just a lot, I talk to a lot of business owners, and we talk about it. And being an entrepreneur, it's super exciting. It can be very challenging at times, but that's the challenge that helps us grow. And having connection and learn our life lessons, because if everything was that easy, everybody would be. But it's the journey we take upon. We take the less traveled road. And this is the most challenging one, but this is the most rewarding one. So through pain, through setback, we're learning. And one of the things we're learning is being resilient. Think outside of the box. And when you become a true entrepreneur, the limit is the sky. Nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. This is where you change your mind. This is where you change your beliefs. And that's what I believe in. So people who are doing what they're doing, like what you do, and everybody else is like Renee from High Out of Africa, or Danny for Interstellar, those are the kind of people you want to align yourself with because they have a purpose, but the purpose is always to give back. It's to the people and to support others to succeed. It's easy to call them ourselves and entrepreneurs, but if you're there for going in the pool to just like a shark and tear everybody else apart, competition can be done. We all have our clients, our customers, the people we can help. But doesn't mean we have to bleed everybody else around at all. There's a way to do business that you can be shrewd, but you don't need to destroy everybody around.
Exactly. And that's where it comes through. I was always purpose over profit, and in business.
You can make good living, but I think money is one thing. Money will come with the business. If you put money first, then people are gonna know. They're gonna know you're only for the bid. You need to score. I had an experience with somebody when I wanted to buy my car that I have now a few years ago. I went to dealership. I knew which car. I didn't want it to another Mazda. I ended up with another Mazda. Obviously, the neighbors gave me there for no reason. But when I did the test drive with the car, the one that I was looking at, I said, "This is not my car." Well, the girl didn't care. She just wanted to score, make herself. So I said, she never took the time. So I wasted a couple of hours and never came back. I'm like, no way. And 2 days later, I got the right car, which was fine. It was within a week because I just put it to the universe by Monday. By Wednesday, I was sitting in a car. By Friday, I had another appointment. Friday, Saturday, I had my car. The right car, actually. And the person wasn't trying to sell it to me. There's a difference between selling and providing a service to something that you need and bring it to you without giving you the sales pitch or pushing you. And that's what I think is essential when you're working with companies. It's based on the need of the customer, the problem they don't want, but they have, and the solution you have, and you can help them and get rid of their problems. But you don't have to push it to become like a sale, because sometimes the customers you get on the front of you are not the right one either. It's your right target market. And that's, I think, the biggest challenge for people is understanding what is your target market. So in the case of working with Interstellar, like everything, like I've been teaching, you need to know who your target market is, because we had experience in the past, if you remember, I'm not going to drop a name, but someone who had a product created and he wanted to target a specific market, and somebody else's was buying it, and he was a little upset because it was the wrong target market. And I was like, okay, well, if it's not, that means your message is not right. You need to get the right message. And a lot of people don't understand. I understand the core value. It's your baby. It's my company. It's how I see it. But you need to be open to have an expert coming in and bring you the right message that fits your company. And sometimes we need to step out to hear people. Like you said at the beginning, just a few minutes ago, not at the beginning of the entire conversation, but just at the beginning of this little section here, you did not listen to anybody because you thought you needed anybody's help. But you have to go back to the drawing board and came to the conclusion and to the reality that whatever I got in my mind, then I need somebody else's to infuse with something else because this is not working. I think that's the hard part to do. It's being open as an entrepreneur, as a leader, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even in your own life, being able to hear what people are saying that will bring you on the right path. Like the same with Jojo. Jojo, the relationship we got with Jojo, you're listening to him because what he brings to you is the essence of the truth or something that will guide you to the right direction, that will bring you that seed in your head. Maybe at the time you're hearing him, it's not sinking in. Maybe in a week, 2 weeks, a month, or maybe in a year. It's like, oh crap, did I heard this before? Yeah, now I'm ready to listen. Now I'm ready. I'm hearing it. Exactly. That's the hard part for everybody.
Well, no, and then that's the thing. I'm not alone, right? So, like with now being an account executive for Interstellar, because when it comes to any businesses, I get to run a campaign, right, where they're going through and offering, because a lot of people, they don't realize basic SEO, and I say basic, and then basic PPC, things like that. If you're not, it's $1,000 a month. And that's just for the basic, right? It's not, there's so many options of capabilities and then what it takes to invest into yourself, right? That it does take money to make money, but it's having
Yep.
capabilities of what you already have coming in. So there's companies they think they can't afford it because they, like myself, because people are coming at me with these crazy amounts, $1,000 a month just to manage my Facebook ads, something like that, or just to manage Google ads. Just one thing for that's all they did, and that was $1,000 a month, right? So in my mindset of, and there was many like them. You find maybe a few a little cheaper and some more expensive. And so it kind of, as a bit as an entrepreneur and having to self-fund everything, being a marketer, didn't think I needed marketing help because that's what my job is. But it's just so complex that having multiple companies could be beneficial, right?
And the science behind it, because a lot of people, when we talk SEO, I'm going to be honest with you. And I had a conversation with somebody who really gave me a crash course on the SEO, because SEO, when I built some of my website, and you're talking about SEO, and that was a few years ago, SEO was the words. You need those words, specific words, but it's more than words. It's a freaking science behind it. And a word is not going to bring you up to the page on Google Ad. It doesn't, even in your search, it doesn't bring you up. There is more to it. And a lot of people don't understand. I had no understanding until somebody explained to me deeply what was going on behind the scene. And you're like, okay, I need an expert at this point.
It's the proper way to come in too, because you could get all this engagement on Facebook and your Facebook link could come up before all the others, but that is not that's not your analytics for your website. That's Facebook's analytics, right? They were the access point. It gives them more leverage of power. And then yes, the world shifts to look at the social media, but it doesn't change the fact that the traditional has to exist. The social media is its own other animal.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't understand. First of all, and I had a conversation with somebody who asked me that question, and even somebody got off and said they did not understood. When you're looking at a company, see like Instagram, TikTok as a party time. It's going to a party and that's it. It's party time. It is not business. Business is website. Every single business should have a website. I'm going on Google and you don't have a website, I don't believe you exist. There is some fake company in there too that exist and put their fake website, but every company should have. One of the thing is, and this is part of the sales, your main pipeline is not your freaking TikTok where you spend hours on it, because you need to calculate the time you're spending on Instagram and on TikTok. If I don't post, like this morning, I posted something about daddy. Yeah, there was daddy with me on my lap on the bed. So I put something on the reel for a minute about daddy. That's what I do with my with my Instagram. So don't even try to find me in there. It's just about the dogs. Don't ask me why, because those are the dogs. All right, people. But you're spending a lot of time. You spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Look at how many hours you spend a week and what is your return on your investment, which will be none to zero or very difficult. Or people will look at it, but they're not going to buy it.
Unless they're paying,
excuse me.
Unless they're paying someone else to manage it.
And exactly. It's going to cost you money to do that. But at the end of the day, look at the pipeline. Your pipeline, I'm going to be coughing. Sorry, I'm going to need some drop. I talked for too long. Excuse me, side effect of COVID afterwards. So your pipeline should be your website. Your website is basically, you don't have to do anything actually. It should funnel all of your leads and your prospect into your website that should be converting automatically. You should not be chasing after the people you want to attract. And that's the problem with Instagram and TikTok. You're chasing after the people, after your audience. If you don't know that, you get a problem. The other thing too, you can have 10,000 people looking at your website every day. But if nobody's converting as client, something is wrong.
What are those clicks? And that's where I fell victim. Like right now, my website, Honeycomb Hydro, is heropacks.com. It's Heropacks with a Z. Those that don't have video, it's HEROPACKZ.com. Right? Because my website, I built it on Wix. I was proud of it. Had all, what I thought was something good. It was garbage, right? So I took it down and stopped paying for something that took my time, that really on the SEO side, on the aspects of what a website should be, I was proud of it. It looked good. It wasn't functional. So it was something for me to be proud of, that I was paying a premium price for, and I wasn't like, it wasn't, then it's cannabis and I'm selling seeds. So now there's even more restriction. And it took 2 years to go through to get a bank, because I could have said, no, I'm not selling seeds. But I didn't. I wasn't going to lie on it. It's the transparency. It's legal through the farm bill. So why can't I sell the seed? It doesn't have any THC. It fits all requirements. But it was just the stigma of it, and the financial platforms that don't allow, and regardless of a percentage to do so, it was just so many, and still is very difficult. And it's made that way to keep individuals away, because most will run into something and then they'll get stopped, and then they just turn around and give up on themselves, right? And it's sad that's how the system's set, but it's what it is. And more restricted, especially like cannabis, it's not going to be easy to navigate. And if you're not learning how to navigate it, you're not going to make it. And there's so much to navigate, you can't do it alone. So how the hell can I learn and keep myself safe in just my own activities and do the marketing?
Exactly.
Right. So that's where I became an employee for a marketing company that has all the tools to do it. And now I get to offer these same services to companies like myself and to any size.
Exactly,
because we all need more, but it's understanding if it's currently on the table as a problem, right? It's the pain point that's stopping these things. Most of it's client acquisition. Well, how do you get more clients?
Oh, yeah, because if you don't have the conversion equation, people can look at your website, but if there's no call to action or nothing that will really speak to it, because you need,
or like you said, the 10,000 going through. I built it through Wix that doesn't have a firewall to stop bots. My information's bunk. It doesn't matter. Like, I can't go to it and rely. I could sell it as an analytic to someone that doesn't know that, like a lot, but though it doesn't, that's not even real numbers. And so there's just levels of understanding what each platform does, and having something built for you for the future that's functional, right? To build, I want to do e-commerce. Okay,
exactly.
Most want to do e-commerce, right? So you go through and then you build and you add and say, hey, Wix, you could do these things, or a platform. Hopefully you're not using GoDaddy. And there's a lot of options. But if it isn't built code by line, each line of code, and it's made for what you intend to be, then it costs a whole lot to get to that, as opposed to having it created in the beginning with having the back end of a website. Like, people don't understand the large websites. If you go to, say, WM.com, it's waste management, $1 million website. Be like, what in the world? Well, it's because the capabilities of the back end, from the executive level to the employee level, to what analytics can be grabbed and looked at, to leveraged through store inventory, and so much more. That is all their data, controlled by a system made for them, and it being able to leverage and know which people. So all that information is collected in a solo hub, a spot, right, for them. And then you extrapolate from something like TikTok is just an access point to collect the information and pump it into. It's not the sales force, but people see that they make a little bit of money doing it, or they see this other person and they don't understand how much was invested into that to get there just on TikTok. And it's not the proper way for longevity of a business. It will make some sales. Like cannabis, it won't. At all. I got banned on TikTok creating my profile. Okay? That's when I got banned. When I created it, soon as I hit create, I had so much shit. So many things were wrong because I had cannabis and I didn't hide who I was. They said, no, you cannot have a TikTok account. I mean, I just used another email and then opened one up. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that's how restrictive these things are. And it just, it's knowing how to navigate that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be as restrictive as cannabis. It can just, being able to reach your customers.
Yeah.
Could be restrictive.
Well, that's why a website should be your first funnel, meaning you don't have to do anything. You shouldn't be standing by. The only thing you got is your prospect. You're being contacted. Your sales go through this. You have a physical store. People should be able to go to your store. That's why I encounter people who just told me here that a lot, they want their customer back. Well, if you don't have your brand awareness, reputation, and nobody knows you're existing, then how do you want people to come to your store? So website is your first traffic for your e-commerce. And to be known, if you have the physical store, then you should be able to drive by. If you do a search on Google for something for a bakery and your bakery should be listed, but everybody else, other bakery are listed except yours, that's a problem. I rely on Google for information. If I'm asking Siri's going to tell me who's around for that specific business. So,
well, and I was watching, and it's because of the power of information and ownership of that. Like even with Google, much John Oliver last week tonight, right? Awesome fucking show. And he was talking on Google search because of how Google has their response searches when you search stuff now. It used to be the website would come up, but then it would come up with suggested things and images and certain stuff that takes you. And like they'll answer, you have that drop down menu of questions that it answers, right? And it's so they keep you on Google.
Yep.
And it doesn't send you anywhere else. And it was, I think the number he said was like 93% of information, of questions asked by the world is on Google and answered by Google. It doesn't even transfer to these companies. So while you're fighting to get on the first page of Google, Google's already got it to where they're going to go through them first. So now you have to have enough traction on it to be recognized by them to have a product put into their already set up link to Amazon or other partner. Like it's to navigate can be very tricky, at least be successful with it. And you got to know what differentiation between you and a competition, right? It's as simple as who you are, because you're not in the world anymore of like people want to know. They want to know who the company is. They go through and from they have access to their fingertips to find out.
You have to educate yourself.
So
there
that's
is
what
an
they
education
do.
part of it. Yes.
And and if it's not translated in the same, but it's sad in the world, but it's because technology and advancement, and you either pivot with it or you fall out. They go to your website and they click on the Instagram link and it doesn't go anywhere. They ain't ever going to come see you again. Right? Like little stupid things like that. And you're killing yourself.
Exactly.
Your ideal client profile might be from Instagram or one of these social platforms we're talking, but you don't know until it goes through, and then testing's expensive and there's all these levels. But that's why you just leverage a company like Interstellar that has the information of what's worked for those that are successful, that are doing triple, 9, 10, 11 digits and profit.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
right?
That's why.
What did they do?
And I think people need to understand too. I said on a Alignable, actually, somebody asked a question about, you want to create your own website. Right. I didn't mind. I'm sure I will pass it on to Interstellar. They're going to be like, oh, that's okay, Emma, but that's a cool one. I'm like, yeah, it's for blog. I'm sure I will pass it on to those guys and see what they're going to say. But you start to build it, and it depends what you want to do and how complex it is, because complexity requires coding in the back, which if you go to Square or anything, I built mine from scratch. But you can go to Square, you can go where you will be limited at some level. But there is an entire analytic behind it that is not possible to do, that requires you to do it. So imagine for a minute, You're already an entrepreneur. You're already trying to get your product or services out. You're not going to spend your time to evolve with the company. You're going to spend your time trying to get things working in the back where you should not be. You need to learn to delegate. So those questions about the marketing, about a website, okay, great, you build it up, but let the expert look at it as well, because there's only 24 hours in a day. And you cannot spend 10 to 15 hours trying to see how everything is working and not working on what you're supposed to be, because you're supposed to be the innovator. You're supposed to be working up front and looking at your product, continue to expand your business. But if you're already working on trying to fix things or try to figure it out how to make it happen, it makes it more challenging and you're not making the money. Exactly. At the end of the money, the day is you're not selling your product, whatever it is.
So all that learning and encompassed, and then now partnered with Interstellar, and I got to sit back and actually work on Hero Packs. So, everything we've discussed, blockchain is its own complexity beyond what we've mentioned, right? Like cryptocurrency and capabilities and what it means in the world and what's going on. There's so much education within it to understand it. And maybe 12% of the world is even messing around with crypto.
It's just starting it. It's just
right.
Starting it, and
then with NFTs, you've got maybe 15-20% of those in the crypto world, if that. So that's now down to 2% of the world is even involved with NFTs. Yep. Right. But one thing with blockchain and NFTs, it's utility, capability of doing things that now isn't available yet. Right. I take medicine that makes me more creative. I've always been an inventor, if you will, but it's to test those limits and believe in oneself. It's like you're talking on your mindset, capabilities, right? Good and bad. It's having it's hard to get that way, but that's where JoJo came in, and then I was able to recognize, and then I could take. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. I love that. So what we're going to do, because we have spent over 2 hours right now on this specific one, I'm going to reinvite you to a second episode and to continue your story. How about that?
That sounds good.
So any words you want to say before we are closing our first episodes?
Yes, the first episode.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the next one. Thank you for the time and the questions that you had for me. Interstellar Digital is interstellardigital.com. All right. So if you're needing and wanting to check out their website, see all the different services that they do offer, and everything we've discussed from Interstellar Cares and all that is on the website. Their social handles are also Interstellar Digital _official on Instagram and Twitter. But Hero Packs is at www.heropacks.com, and you can read more about the NFT project there. And on the next episode, we'll dive more in depth of exactly what it is. But on the surface, it is the NFT project that will seed the world. So, on not only saving lives, but availability of amazing medicine and the capabilities of receiving those seeds. So, Honeycomb Hydro LLC is the handle for my Instagram and Twitter. And then on Facebook, if you're wanting to get any cannabis-based groups, I have Kamp, which is CANNAKAMP, Kamp like my last name. And then I've also got the Honeycomb Hydro page there as well. So click, follow, like, do all that good stuff. And then, lots more to come.
Exactly. And because it's a special week for Owwll, starting Monday from the 15th to the 20th, everything that is proceed will be given back to charities. So remember, you can download the app for free on your Androids or Apple product, the iPhone. Great. And the referral code we offer is ED149067. this will give you a $10 credit, so you can call actually for free the expert. So we invite you there, and it's giving back to charity, which is awesome. So thank you so much, Mike, and we'll talk to you later. Can you be back on screen?
Wait, there it goes. Yep, there we go.
By magic. See, that's the magic right there. So we'll talk to you later. Bye now.
Bye.
Emma's Universe Podcast.